Hello, I think you can hear me now. Does you see the desktop and do you hear my voice?
Yep.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, I'm just getting everything ready over here. Okay. Okay, so the exam was last Thursday, and today we're going to continue on with this new topic, loops. I hope to have the exam graded in a week. I hope to be able to do it over the coming weekend. Okay, so I'll try to get the exams graded by the coming weekend. It takes a little while to go through and grade them. If you have any questions about the exam, please let me know. I think it seemed like everything went pretty well. Okay. Um, you'll see that, you'll see when the exams are graded, what happens is because you upload them to Brightspace, I grade them on Brightspace, and then, like usually, like when you get exams back from a professor, they mark what's wrong and they write things on them, and I can do that on Brightspace. I can write on your PDF documents in Brightspace. They have a tool for letting me write on the PDF documents. So when the exams are graded, you'll see your marked up exam on Brightspace. So you'll see your score, but you'll also see exactly what you did right and what you did wrong. So it's pretty much like getting back an exam traditionally. Yeah, it's just that you'll be able to download your exam back from Brightspace with the markings on the exam to show you, how it was graded. Okay, so that's what you'll look for. You'll see your score in one part of Brightspace. I mean, it's actually seen, I think, in different parts of the of Brightspace. You'll see your score in one part of Brightspace, but you can go back. I'm not even quite sure exactly where you see it. We'll have to figure that out. Yeah, if anybody's got any question, but you'll be able to download your exam and see the graded version of your exam. Okay, and you could print it. You could read it on Brightspace. You could print it out. You could download and save it. Okay, all right. So when they're done, well, I'll say more about that because that's important that you look at the feedback you get on your exams. Okay. Does anybody have any question about the exam? Was there anything anybody have a question about it? Well, let's go to the next topic. We're going to start talking about loops. We're going to talk about the idea of wanting to have a Java program do something over and over again. Okay. So let me open up Java Visualizer. And I'll type some examples of what I mean by a loop. Okay. So there are two kinds of, well, there's actually three kinds of loops in Java, and we're going to work with two of them. Okay. So we're going to use what's called a while loop and a for loop. So we'll start with a while loop. Here's how it works. You type the word while, then then a left parentheses, then something that's true or false. It's like an if. Remember, an if statement was, I'll just say if, then a parentheses, something is true or false. Okay. And then you had a left brace and a right brace, else a left brace and a right brace. So this thing is something is true or false. And here you would put the what to do, if it's true. Okay. And down here you'd put what to do if it's false. Okay. And up here I can create a variable int, uh, I'm sorry, Boolean. Here's my something is true or false. I'll just make it a Boolean variable, and I can make it true. Okay. Then over here, I'll just put something to do. System dot out dot print line hello, and in the other case, I'll print bye. Okay. Okay, there's a real bare bones if statement. Okay. And this should compile so far. And well, I create that variable, and then I jump to the part, I jump to this part. Okay. If I go back and make that variable false, I'll jump to the other part. Okay. See, I jump to that part. Now, a while loop looks kind of similar. It starts off, instead of if something true or false, you write while something true or false. And then there's only one piece here, what to do if it's true. Okay. But you got to be careful here. Okay. What to do if it's true. Okay. Like right now, let me go put it back to being true. What the while loop does is here you do either this one time or you do this one time. If this guy's true, you do this one time. If this guy's false, you do this one time. With the while loop, if this guy's true, you do this. And then you go back and check if this thing is still true or not. If it's true, you do this thing again. Then you go back and check if this thing's still true or not. The idea is that this thing is supposed to modify the thing you're checking here. So this loops, okay? It just stays in this loop. Like if we check this now, like I'll put this print hello. Okay? Now what this is going to do, this is going to print hello forever. So let me, okay? Now, notice I got, what I'm actually doing is I'm printing hello forever. And so the Java visualizer has a limit to how many steps it can do. And I exceeded their number of steps. You see, it went up to 500 steps. What it did is it's going to print hello 500 times. And here's what we can watch it. Okay, so here's the part. Okay, I'm checking if that thing is true or false. It's true, so I print out a hello. There's the hello. Then I check if it's true again. I'm checking if it's true again. Print hello. See, and I'm just alternating between them. I'm repeating it. Okay, so that's a real simple loop. But I'm now looping. I'm going from here back to here, check, go back down to here, go up here, check, go back down to here, go up here, check. Okay. Okay. Now, now what I really need to do is, this becomes interesting when the what to do if it's true could change if it's true or false. So here's how I might do something like that. Let me create a variable int I equal 0. Okay. And then down here, let me do something here. Oh, I'll do if, well, I'll say let increment I. So I equals I plus 1. So change the value of I. Then I'll put an if statement down here. If I is gotten to 10, I'll change something that's true or false to false. So here's like my feedback into my while loop. I'm gonna change this condition in here depending on something I'm doing. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm incrementing the variable I. When it hits 10, I'll change the thing that's true or false to false. And now if I visualize this, I'm going to print out hello 10 times. See, I didn't exceed their limit this time. It's not an infinite loop. It's not just looping forever. Okay, so go down here, get to, okay, now I'm going to create the variable I. Okay, so I got this variable I that's 0. Okay, something is true or false, it's true. Okay. Print it, print hello. Okay. Now change the value of I. It's 1. Check if it's gotten to the number we're interested in. It's not yet. So click forward. So it wasn't, this was not true. So I just skip up back here. Here's where the loop part. I looped back up here to line 18. Okay, now if I kind of step through this real fast, see, I'm back to 18, back to 18, back to 18, back to 18. Remember, I was printing out, I print out a bunch of hellos so far. I printed hello, incremented I's up to 6 so far. Check if it hit 10 yet. Okay. If it doesn't, if it hits 10, I'm going to change the value of this guy. Right now it's staying at true. Okay. Okay. So keep going. I'm back up to the while, back up to the while, back up to the while. Oh, notice that I'm now in here. Okay. Oh, I hit I equals 10. So now I changed something equals true or false to false. See, now it's false. Okay, I'm back up here, but now this thing is false and the program's done. Okay, so this is how we use while loops. We almost always have it as you're checking for a Boolean, something is true or false, and if it's true, you do what's inside the loop. Okay, if we go back and if it's, you check this Boolean, if it's true, you do what's inside the loop. Okay, but there should be something in the loop that changes this thing here somehow. Okay, so that when at some point it'll change from true to false and you'll stop doing the loop. Okay, so it's more tricky than an if statement. An if statement, this thing gets checked one time. Okay, this thing gets checked one time, and it's either true, so you do this one time, or it's false, so you do this one time. Okay, here now you change the word if to while. Okay, and you think of it, while this thing is true. So while it's true, loop on here. And if you never change this thing here, you'll loop forever. So there should be something in here that modifies the something in here so that you can eventually, the loop will break. Now, sometimes people do write infinite loops. Remember, before we had an infinite loop that that just kept looping forever and ever, that never changed. There wasn't anything in here to change what was here, so the loop would just keep going forever and ever. Every once in a while, that's useful. Now, let me just think. Let me take this thing and move it over to the Java visualizer. Show you something, because this thing actually has a limit to how many steps it can do. So if you do write something that accidentally goes forever, this thing kind of puts a brakes on you because it only can do, it's something like 500 steps. So, but let's go to Java Visualizer. Java Visualizer doesn't have anything like that. There's no limit to how many steps a program can do. So let's see what happens. Let's see, Java Visualizer started up wrong. So let me halt it, start it again. Okay, there's my program. Okay, I have to save it on my hard drive. So I'm going to save it on my desktop. Okay, so it should be on my desktop now. Okay, there it is. There's on my desktop. Okay, I'm going to go back to the version. I see. I don't need the if statement in here. I'm just going to kind of go back to the one that runs forever. Okay, so there. This thing is true. You're checking it. There's nothing to change the fact that it's true. So it's going to print hello forever. So let's watch. Now, watch what happens if I compile. Okay, compiled fine. There's my class name. Okay, now run. Okay, so it's going to run forever now. Right? See, it's just running and running, 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 printing, and it's going to run forever. Okay, if you're into something like that, you can reset Dr. Java because this happens all the time when you're programming. You accidentally goof something up. It's very, very common when you start. Once you start writing while loops, it's really easy to make a mistake and just act and end up in an infinite loop. And Dr. Java has this reset button. Are you sure you want to reset? You say yes. That stops the infinite loop. There. See, I'm out of it. Okay. So if you find yourself running and you don't think that that's ever going to stop and you want to know, like you could quit Dr. Java, but that's dangerous because you might, you may have stuff in here that you haven't set. Well, Dr. Java, this is one of the reasons why Dr. Java forces you to save your work before you run anything, because they know from experience that if you have work that's not saved and you have an infinite loop, you could, sometimes the reset button doesn't work and then you actually are forced to quit Dr. Java. Yeah. Sometimes you're forced to do that, not very often. Usually Dr. Java can fix things. Okay. Okay. Then I could put my program back into Dr. Java. Okay. Now, but if you make a change in Dr. Java, okay, and then I want to run it, it won't run it. It says, you have to recompile your document and you have to save it before you can. Now, when you compile it, it's saved. Now, I get right this time, it saved it for me. That Dr. Java is doing that so that if you don't want to lose what you've got up here. If you run the program and things are broken, you don't want to have to close Dr. Java by accident and have to lose everything you typed here. So it makes you save everything. Okay, so that's a real simple loop, and then we can go back to the one that we had on the Java visualizer. Okay, here's I can run this now. If I run this one in Dr. Java, I'll create a new version. I'll call this version 2. Okay, so I have to save this one now. Okay, so it's going to save it as version 2. Okay, now you don't see it, like here now. If I compile it and run it, notice I get my 10 outputs really fast. I don't see what it's doing. I get these outputs real fast. That's the advantage of the visualizer. The visualizer lets you watch this thing loop. Okay. Here, I just see lots of output. Okay. And I don't really know how that output got there. I look at my code and I know how to read this code. So I know that it started with I equals 0, check this variable here, which I had set to true. Okay. Then it printed out hello, and then it checked, then it incremented the variable, and then if the variable hit 10, then it changed it to false. Okay. Now, for example, if I started here with false and I recompile my program, I don't get 10 outputs of, I only get by. See what happened here was, I don't see it happen. I have to go and read the program to see what that did. Okay, this guy is false. So if something is true was false, so I printed out this. Okay. Then I got here, set I equal to 0, while something is true or false, but this one's false. So notice that you don't loop even one time. A while loop doesn't have to even loop one time. This while looped 0 times. It got here, looked at that thing there, it was false, skipped over to the end of the program. Okay, so it went straight to the end of the program. Okay, so all I got out was a measly by. I got out one by from the else part of this if statement. But the thing is, I don't see it happening. You know, that's one of the beauties of the Java visualizer is that we can watch programs happen. See here, I run it again. I just see by. Okay, and all the logic of what happened here, the if statement, the variable that was this counter, this while, I don't see any of it happen. I just get this one output here. Now this is important because when you do homework assignment, when you start writing your own code, a lot of times if you're working in Dr. Java, you'll just see an output that's not what you want. and you have to figure out how come I got what I didn't want. And you could either switch to, you either have to sit and stare at your code real hard. You trace through your code to try to think of what it's doing, or you can take your code back up to the Java visualizer and watch what it does. Okay, so it's important to be able to go back and forth between sometimes just thinking about your code and also being able to watch it in the Java visualizer. Okay, now let's go back to the Java visualizer. Okay, now let's look at another example. Let me open up another Java visualizer thing. Let's look at an example of something that's a little bit more useful about a use of a while loop that actually is real common, something that a good reason to use a while loop. So I'm going to create a scanner. I'm going to ask the user, I'm going to write a program that uses user input. So I'm going to say, okay, I want to use a scanner. So then I'm going to create a scanner here. So this is way, now I can prompt the user for input. Okay. So I can ask a user to type something in input. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the user to enter a positive number. Okay. So I'm going to say system.out.print. I'm going to ask user, please enter a positive integer. Okay. So I give them a prompt, and this is going to print out, please enter a positive integer. I'm using print, not print line. So at the end of that sentence, they'll see their little blinking cursor waiting for something. Okay. I'm going to read in their number. So, okay. So I'm going to read int num equal in dot next int. So read in the next integer. Okay. Now I want to check if they actually gave me a positive integer. Okay, now what I'm going to use is I'm going to use a while loop. I'm going to say while int is negative. I'm sorry, not int, num. While the number they gave me is less than 0, I'm going to be patient, and I'm going to now in this while loop ask them to please enter their number again. Now, what this is going to do is this is going to let me ask them over and over again to re-enter their number while they keep giving me the wrong thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 lines of code, copy and paste them into here. Okay, indent the right amount. Now, I don't redeclare this variable because it's already been declared up here, but now I'll reuse it. Okay, now what's this going to do? Prompt them, read in their number, check if it's negative. Okay, this is something that's true or false. If this is true, I want to ask them again, please enter a positive integer. And then I want to reread into that variable what they typed. Okay, then I loop up here and check if they gave me a negative number or not. Okay, and then if they keep giving me negative numbers, I keep asking. And then down here, this is what happens when they've given me a positive number. And I'll just say, print out thank you. Okay, now this is actually a real common use of a while loop, waiting till something is the way you want it. Attempting to do something, in this case, asking the user for an input number and asking them over and over again until they give us what we want. Okay, now I want to run this in the Java visualizer. The Java visualizer doesn't work very well with the keyboard. Remember, if you want to prompt the user for input and read their inputs, you have to go over here and you have to type in the inputs yourself. So like I'll type in -1, -2, -3. I'll be a real stubborn user for a while, -4, and then 5. Okay, now visualize this. Okay, okay, there's where the scanner is going to get its input. There's not going to be anything typed at the keyboard now. So the program's going to get its input from here. It's going to read the -1, then a -2, then a -3, then a -4. Okay, so let's start. First we create the scanner because we need the scanner object. Then we create the variable num, and it's going to get the first number, -1. Okay, now we're in the part where we're patiently waiting for the user to give us what we want. If the number's less than 0, we ask them to print another. We ask them again down here for another. Notice that the prompts are kind of messed up because I'm not actually typing the numbers myself. But there is the second prompt. Okay, we'll run this in the Java visualizer and we'll see that it works a little bit differently. Okay, now I read in the second number. Okay, they typed a -2. So I keep going. I keep saying, well, please enter another number. Okay, and then I read it in. Okay, now I've got the -3. So I check that number. Okay, it's still negative. So I prompt them again. Then I read in their next number, which is the -4. Now I've got the -4. The person's being real stubborn. They're not giving a negative number. So I prompt them again, read in their next number. Now I've got the 5. Okay, so now this is false. And I get out of the loop and I'm done. Okay, then I've got the thank you at the end here. Okay, if I run this in Dr. Java, it actually looks a little bit better because Dr. Java does the input the right way. So let me go copy this one into Dr. Java, create a new one here. Okay, call this one number 3. Okay, I have to save it on my desktop. So save it. Okay, now compile it. Okay, now I'm going to run this one. Okay, now see, please enter a positive integer. So I'll enter -4. Okay, see, now I don't see anything happening up here, but I see my program doing what I wanted to do. Please enter a positive integer. The first please enter a positive integer was printed by this one. Then the second was printed by this one. I'm in the loop now. Okay, and then I'm going to enter my next. I'll type in -3, hit enter, -2, enter, -1, enter. Now 0 I'm counting as a positive integer. Okay, so I decided arbitrarily I decided that 0 should be counted as a positive integer. Okay, now one thing you can, if you want, now I'll change the prompt a little bit. So you see that this first prompt was put out once, and then these were printed out inside the loop. So let me compile that. And run it. Okay, so please enter a positive integer. Okay, see, notice I can tell now from the printout that I entered the loop because just to make things, sometimes we change these things to just make it easier for us to see down here what's happening up here. So here I changed this prompt and this from each other so that now I see, oh, I'm in the loop part. So now I said I'm in the loop part because the person gave me a negative number. Okay, so down here, like I'll type -1, and I'm still in the loop part. Now I'll type 1. Okay, there I got my thank you. Okay, if I run the program again, I can enter 5 here, and it's done. See, now it didn't loop. I didn't need to loop. See, while loops, they don't have to do what's inside here, because if I've got what I want, I don't have to while asking for it again. So here's an example of a while loop that didn't need to ask again for anything. Okay, so I got what I want. The user typed a positive number first. Okay. We think of while loops as looping as many times as needed. So you think of this as you're checking for something you need. Yeah. So over here, I could, if I go back to this example here, instead of saying something that is true or false, I could say something that, uh, let me take this and put it in Dr. Java and just change it a little bit. So one way to think about it is instead of just writing something that is true or false, think of it this way, something that I want to be true. Okay. So you have a program that you checks for something that you want to be true. Now it's still a Boolean. It could be true or false, but yeah. No, actually, I'm sorry. It's what I want to be false. Okay. What I want to something that I want to be false, and then down here in the loop, you do something when it's true. Okay. It's while something that I want to be false, I keep doing something while it's true. So this is another way to think about it. Okay. You while there's some condition that I want it to be a false condition, and the falseness makes me done. Yeah, that's when I want. That's what I'm wanting. I want it to become false. Okay. So over here, I wanted the number they typed. This is what I wanted false. I wanted that false because what I really wanted is that they gave me a negative number, a positive number. Okay. What I really want is I wanted a a positive number. So I wrote here while it's negative. Okay. Yeah. So the logic, it can actually be tricky to do this because the way the while loop works, while this is true, you keep looping. So you loop while this is now usually you loop while this is not what you want so that you can correct it down here, possibly. That's what I was doing in this other example. I was looping, where was it? Yeah. I was looping while I had what I didn't want. Well, while the user gave me negative numbers, I looped on what they gave me, which is what I didn't want. Okay. So I looped until this was false. Okay. So there's lots of ways of thinking about these things. A lot of times this is the way people where'd it go? Oh, I'm losing track of where I am. Oh, it's up here in the untitled one. Okay. So make this one number 4. Okay. So I mean, this is one way to think about how we use a while loop. Uh, well, something that I want to be false. Well, ah, so the condition is something that I want to be false. While this is true, I want it to be false. So while it's true, I want to what to do if it's true to make it false. Yeah. What do you do to now? In this case, I would re-ask the user. In this case, if it's false, the thing I want, if it's false, I'm sorry, if it's true, the way I get it to become, the way I get to change is by re-asking the user to enter it. So this is the thing that while this thing is false, I re-ask the user for another number. Okay. It, it, depending on how you think about it, it can get confusing because you usually think of things of I want things to be true. Okay. So, but if you want something to be true, then the while loop is while it's false, you keep iterating. Okay, you know, here's another way to, you can even write this a fifth way. Okay, here's another way you might think about it. Something that I want to be true. That's what I want. But then down here I put while not the case that what I want to be true. While it's not the thing I want to be true, what to do if it's false to make it true. Okay. Yeah. What to do if it's, see, so this is just a different way of thinking. If this is something that I want to be true, then while it's not true, what do I do to make it true? In the loop is something I do to make it true. So here's something that I want to be true, and I can, have it false. Then while it's not, remember, this is we talked a little bit about the Boolean operators, and, or, and not. While not the case that I want it to be true, while it's not true, which is false, do this. Then here's what to do if it's false to make it true. Okay, so this is just another way of thinking about it. Okay, this one is 5. Okay, I mean, there's kind of like two ways of thinking about it. Yeah, you can think if this is something that I want to be false. So while it's not the case that it's false, what do I do to make it false? Okay. Sometimes the logic is, sometimes it's really the same thing. There's no difference here between this way and this way. It's just kind of a way of thinking. Am I thinking that it's something that I want to be false, or do I thinking it's something that I want to be true? If it's something that I want to be true, then I say, while it's not true, do something to make it true. If I'm thinking, oh, it's something I want to be false, while the something I want to be false is true, while it's true, what do I do to make it false? Okay. So you get used to using this. It's just there's something you want to fix. Another way to just think of it is there's something you want. Let's see. There's something you want, a positive integer. Okay. Check that it's not what you want. Try to make it what you want. Okay. Then go back and check, is it what you want yet? If it's not, try to make it what you want. If it's not what you want yet, make it what you want. If it is what you want, you go down here. So you can just think of this case by case. The while loop is something you loop until you get what you want. So here's where you check that it's not what you want. Here's where you try to make it what you want. And then here you're done. Okay. Let's look at another example of using a while loop. Okay. So see, I'll go up to the Java visualizer. I'm going to take a string. And it doesn't matter what string. I'll just write. I want to print the letters of the string 1 character per line. So I want to print this out vertically. Okay. So I want to print out the HELLO space THERE period in a column vertically. And here's how I'm going to do that. Okay. Remember, the string has every letter in the string has an index. Okay. So there's the 0 letter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. And if I start counting again, there's 10, 11. Okay. So there's 11 characters in that string. There's 12 characters in that string numbered from 0 to 11. Okay. So I can step through this string using an integer. So I'm going to create an integer, int I, set it equal to 0. And I'm going to think that I is going to be the thing that tells me where I am in the string. Okay. Then while I'm not yet at the end of the string, okay, while I is less than the string dot length, every string knows how long it is. Okay, while this number I is less than this, now what I want is to step through the string. So I'm going to keep looping while my index I is inside the string, and I'm going to stop looping when my index I gets to the end of the string. Okay. Now, what do I do when I have, yeah, in a way, what I really, now this is a kind of a flip of what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking now is that I want to loop while something is true. While instead of instead of this example here where I'm trying to get the user to give me something that I want and the user keeps giving me something that I don't want, here I've got actually a slightly different way of thinking about it. I want to loop while I'm still inside the string. And then when I get to the end of the string, then I want to stop looping. So now my thinking is actually that while I have what I want, which is I'm inside the string, keep looping. Okay. So this is kind of a flip of this way of these examples we are writing here of something that's true or false or something that I want or don't want. Now my way of thinking is this is something that I do want. I want to be inside the string. Well, while I'm in the string, I'm just going to do system.out.println s1.char at. I'm going to use a method in the string class. I want the character that's at I. Okay, so I want to print out the character at the location I in that string. And I'm using print line, so it's going to be printed and then I'll start another line. Okay. After I print that, I'll say, well, now I can move I to the next character. So I'll write I equals I plus 1. Okay. And that's pretty much what I need. Okay. Print out a letter, move my index from one character to the next character, check that I've gotten to the end of the string. If I haven't got to the end of the string, I'm where I want to be. So I'll just keep looping while I'm inside the string. Okay. Now, the thing is, I don't know how long the string is. So each string has a different length. So this is while you're still inside the string, which can vary depending on how long the string is. I will work my way from the beginning to the end of the string. Okay. So now if I go forward, I can say, okay, there's my string. There's my index. Okay. Okay. My index is less than the string dot length. The string dot length is 11. So I is 0. That's less than 11. I'm going to print out one letter, change the index. Okay. So now the index becomes 1 because remember I started at 0. So now it's at 1. 1 is still less than 11. Now you can see me loop here. So I'm going to just click kind of fast and watch this yellow line go 6, 8, 9, 6, 8, 9. Okay, 6, 8, 9, 6, 8, 9. And I'm stepping through the string. Okay. See my index is growing. I'm almost to the end. If I look down here, I'm at the R. Okay, there's the E. Okay, the index is 11. Remember, 11 was the last index. That's the period. Okay, there's the period. Now we increment I past where I want to be. Now I is going to go to 12. There is no letter 12 in my string. See, there is 12 would be that position, which isn't part of the string. So 11 was the last position in the string. So now this guy turns false now. I don't have I less than the string dot length. So I'm done. Okay, and the program's over. Okay, so there's an example of how I might use a string, a while loop. But here my reasoning is it's why now it's really while I want to be inside the string, keep on looping. Okay. So notice that this way of thinking, it really varies. Like over here, I was writing something that I want to be false, you know, or something not something that I want to be true. Yeah, that's one way to think about how these things work. But usually you don't really think that way. You just write whatever code works for you. You usually just you have to think, I want to loop. You know, am I looping because something is right, or am I looping because something is wrong? Here I was looping because something was wrong. I was looping, roughly here I was looping because somebody was giving me a negative number when I wanted a positive number. Here I'm looping because something's right. I'm looping while I'm still inside the string. So there's no really right way or wrong way to think about this. It's just the while loop has this while this thing is true. Oops. The while loop just works in the way that while whatever's inside here is true. If we go back to the very first example we did, okay, um, the way the while loop works is while this is something that's true or false. If it's true, you keep looping. Yeah, as long as it's true, you keep looping. While this is true, you keep looping. Now, yeah, sometimes sometimes you want the looping to happen because you want to do something. Sometimes you want the looping to fix something. There's all these different scenarios. Yeah, here we looped because something was wrong. Okay, the person gave us a negative number, so we kept looping to fix the wrong. Okay, here we're looping because something's right. We're still inside the string, so keep looping while I'm inside the string. When I get to the end of the string, I don't want to print out things that aren't in the string. I want to print out what's in the string. So there's no, the while loop is, this is a condition that's either true or false. If it's true, do what's in the body. If it's false, skip. And then you just kind of use that to think whichever way you want to think. Are you doing something are you doing what you want to be doing until you get to the end of it, or are you doing something because you don't have what you want and you're trying to fix it? Okay. So each case requires you to think a little bit differently. There's no one way to think about these things. Well, there is one way to think about it. The way to think about it is, if this expression is true, you do what's in here and go back up. If this thing is false, you skip over what's in there. Okay, that's what's always the case. So we're back to the right way to think about it. It's the way to think about it, it's always correct, is while something is true or false. While it's true, do what's in here. When it becomes false, you skip out. Okay. All right. Now let's see. Let me think of another example. Now, these two examples are kind of exemplary of a lot of what you do with while loops. I was looping while I had something I wanted versus I was looping while I had something I didn't want. Okay. Looping to correct something. I looped until I got what I was looking for, versus looping while I have what I want. While I'm inside the string, I keep printing out characters. While the person doesn't give me what I'm asking for, I ask them for it again. Okay, so you kind of see in a way, there's roughly two ways of thinking about a while loop: looping to fix something, or looping to do something. Looping to get the right answer, or looping to do something a certain number of times. I want to loop as many times as there are characters in my string. Okay, that's the other one. Okay. Now, notice that if I change the number of characters in the string, this thing will loop less time. Okay. So now if I visualize this, now the string only goes up to position, was it 5? Okay. So this thing's not going to loop as many times. Okay. So the while loop does, how many times is this while loop going to loop? Well, it depends. It depends on how long that string is. So it's going to loop ever long that string is. Now, here, watch, let me play a little game with this one. I'm going to do something a little bit funny. What's this going to do now? Start out with I is 0. Am I at the end of the string yet? If I'm not at the end of the string, what do those two lines of code do? What will do? What will I get out if I say print line? Actually, I'm going to change it. Actually, I'm going to do this. What's that going to do?
Wouldn't it print the S chart?
Pardon me?
Wouldn't it print the S1 chart at I?
And what are these two together going to do? What's we call this the body of the while loop. What's this body going to do? What are those two lines together going to do?
They're going to print whatever value I is. Well, the first one is, and then the second system out is going to print I plus 1.
But what do I see? What you just did was read the code. Well, it'll print the character at I, and then it'll print the character at I plus 1. But think, that's not, people don't want you to read when somebody asks you, what does this code do? They almost never want you to read the code back to them. They want you to give them the idea, what is it really doing? So think,
does it print hello and then on the next line, hello, hello?
No.
No? Okay.
See?
Never mind.
Yeah, what does it do? What do these two lines of code do? And don't say, well, it prints the character at I from S1, then it prints the character at I plus 1 from S1. That's useless because you just read the code back. So how can you, like the executive summary of what those two lines do?
This is my second guess. Is it going to print, like for I 0, is it going to print out H, like the letter, each letter at a time? And then the second one's going to print out HE. Yeah.
No. Okay. So the two lines together. Okay. This line would print, okay, if we start at the beginning, I is 0. This one prints H, right? That's the letter at 0. What does this one print?
It'll just print out E.
Okay, but now what do the two together do?
It prints out HE.
Prints out HE on one line. See, prints out H. See, this one prints out H, but then on the same, it doesn't start another line. So this one prints out HE on one line. But then what does this guy do?
It's gonna add 0 plus 2.
But you just read the code to me. So what's the point of it?
Oh, it's gonna continue on the chain of hello. So once
well, why did I add 2 instead of 1? So it skips over
2.
Two letters. See, I just printed 2 letters, so I should skip over 2 letters. What does the final output look like? Remember before we were printing out hello vertically. So we printed out the letters HELLO in a column. Okay. Well, what's this one going to do? In words, it's going to print out what?
When I is 2, is going to print out LL.
Okay, but then what's the whole thing look like? What's this code doing to the string? Okay, so you have to start thinking abstract. Like, what's this code just kind of doing? What does it do?
So it keeps like incrementing until it reaches 4, right? Or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
So it
but
would be
what do
H.
I see in the output?
So it should be H, HI, and on the next line, H, HI,
No,
and then,
no,
no?
no, you don't
Okay.
get HHI because you never print the same letter twice.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Would it? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you can hear me.
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry, my thing's not lighting up. Would it be? It's printing it out. 2 characters in each column.
Yeah, it's printing out
Yeah.
2 columns of characters,
Yeah.
and you're printing out pairs of letters at a time. So
Yeah.
you're breaking the word into pairs of letters. Okay, now let's watch it. HE, increment by 2. Okay, now LL, increment by 2. Now O dot, increment by 2, done. Okay, printed out in rows of 2 letters at a time. Okay. Okay, what if we go back and okay, now hello there. Watch it again. It's going to print out the letters 2 letters at a time. Okay. Not that this is especially useful, but the idea is that when you see code, you should be able to tell somebody what it does. And I'm going to give you problems like these on tests. And in the next test, I'll be more like that. If I ever ask you, what does this code do? Don't read the code back. You know, when you're in meetings and you're working as a professional programmer, somebody says, what does that code do? Nobody wants somebody to read the code. While the I is less than the length of the string, the system out printout prints out the ith letter of the string. Then the system out print line prints out the I plus 1 letter of the string. And then the I is incremented by 2. And then you go back up to the beginning of the while loop again. Yeah. And all you did is read the code, but somebody's going, but what does it do? Because sometimes it's not so obvious and sometimes you have to figure it out, but you should be able to say, oh, this is printing out pairs of letters at a time. It's printing out the string 2 letters at a time, 2 letters at a time on a line. Okay.
So looks like something they would ask on a technical interview.
Yeah, it sure is. Yes, it sure is. You know, these are the kinds of questions that you get asked even in technical interviews. What does this code do? And we sure don't want you to read back the code to us. You know, we can read the code. We want you to explain what it does. Okay, so here, you know, I'm getting, what happened here? Why did I get 2 letters? Is my code broken?
No, it
Why not?
counts the space.
Oh, the space, right. See, the space was the second letter. So that was O space. So there was O space. So there's 2 letters there. Okay, so you have to think a little bit. You know, there really was 2 letters there. One of them is a space. Okay, keep going. Okay, done. Okay, all right. Now, there's something, this code is not really well written. This code has got a bug in it. Here's why I want you to, this is why there's this thing about think what it really does. Now think about what it does wrong. Anybody come up with, there's a bug in this code. What could go wrong if I'm saying print out pairs of letters at a time? So print out a pair of letters, I and I plus 1, then skip to the next pair of letters. So print a pair of letters, skip to the next pair.
So the last one won't be a pair, right?
What?
Or the last line wouldn't be a pair, right? It's just
Oh,
one.
yeah. So to summarize it, what if blah blah? What's going to cause me a problem? What if?
Let's see.
You're right on the mic. I could not have a pair somehow. What if what? How could this string not be a bunch of pairs?
So we have to exclude the space.
No,
No?
well,
Would
no,
that be a pair?
that's not a problem.
Okay.
Okay, I'm printing out this string in pairs. What could go wrong? How could this string not really be made of pairs?
If the last letter it's an odd number, right?
Oh yeah, if there's an odd number of characters, like drop the dot at the end. There's no longer an even number of characters. There's an odd number of characters. What's going to happen to my program now? Let's go through and watch. H-E-L-L-O. Okay, now there's the space, O space, T-H-E-R. Oh, okay, now I'm not to okay, now, well, watch what's going to happen. I got the ER, so I've got the only thing left is the E. The only thing left is the E. Print the E. My program blew up. Uh-oh, I've got a real bug. My program blew up. Why did it blow up? See?
Oh, because there's nothing after that, right? After E.
Yeah, the I, let me go back. I is 10. There is no letter at index 10. Let's see. There is, see, the indexes go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, and then I'm sorry, I is 10. You have to think about it, because go back. Okay, I is 10. 10 is the last letter. That's the E here. But this guy uses 10 plus 1, which is 11. And there is no letter in the 11th spot. So you have to read it real carefully. I is 10. So this guy was okay. But this line of code is not okay because it's asking for the 11th letter, and there is no 11th letter. So when I ask for the 11th letter, the program crashes because I get string index out of bounds. String index is in 11. String index hit 11 in a string that only has indexes up to 10. The indexes ended at the index 10. Okay, so now my logic should take, if I want to print out pairs of letters, I actually have to worry about this last step. Okay, so here's where I would use an if statement. So this one could possibly cause me a problem. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll say if I is still less than s1.length. Okay, if I'm still inside the string, then print this second letter. Okay, so print out one letter. Well, I should say if I plus 1. See, I want to print out this next letter. If the next letter is still inside the string, print it out. Then increment by 2. So now I fixed that little bug. See, I found a bug and I fix it. I printed out one letter and then the letter next to it, but I better make sure that the letter next to it stays inside the string. Okay, so let's see if this worked now. Oh, what did I do wrong? Oh, I forgot the parentheses. That's a method call. So I forgot to call the length method on the string. So you need these parentheses to call, because you're calling a method on the string that gives you back the answer of how long the string is. Okay. Now let's step through this. Okay. Okay, there's HE, LL, O space, TH. Okay, now I'm getting to one that's interesting. There's the E. Okay, there's the E. Now I is, oh, we haven't got, oh, that's the E in, that's the E, that's the E in the ER. Okay. Okay, now here's the E. That's the one that should be by itself. Okay, there's the E that should be by itself. I is 10. But what about I plus 1? That's 11. Is 11 less than the string length? No. So I skip over this print. I increment I. And now I'm past the length end of the string and I'm done. Okay, so now I didn't goof up at the end. I didn't try to print 2 characters at the end. Okay. Okay, so this works now if the string has odd length. It works if the string has even or odd length. It prints out 2 letters at a time. But I have to be careful. I can't assume I can print out 2 letters at a time unless I make sure that there is a second letter. All right. So notice I've got a combination now of a while loop and an if statement. While I'm inside the string, print out 1 letter in the string. Make sure the next letter is really in the string. If it is, print it out. Skip over the 2 letters I just printed. Go back up here. See, have I gotten to the end of the string yet? If I'm not at the end of the string, print out another letter. Check that the one next to it really exists. If it exists, print it. Skip over 2 letters. Go back and check if I've gotten to the end of the string or not. Okay. So now I can print out strings that have even or odd length as pairs. Okay. Now, if I kind of goof up, if I put an LN here, then it's kind of a really weird program. Now it's going to print the letters all on one line, but it prints them in pairs, which is kind of, now now the program just is kind of almost, you wonder, why is it written in such a confusing way? Because like right now, if I just go to the end, see, it just printed out HELLO all in a column, but it really printed out an H and an E together, printed out the H and the E in one loop, printed the L and the L in another loop. Okay, yeah, that's probably not, yeah, if I just wanted them in a vertical column, I wouldn't write the code in such a complicated way. What was more interesting is when this thing, it was more interesting when this one was print so that this other one ended up next to it. So print one letter, then print the one next to it. Okay. Okay. All right. So the while loop works until I get to some condition. Yeah. Here, this one was trying to fix a mistake. If somebody gives you a negative number when you ask for a positive number, you ask again. Here I'm saying, well, while I'm inside the string, keep printing. So while I have what I want, keep working. Over here is while I don't have what I want, keep working. Sometimes it's one way of thinking, sometimes it's another way of thinking. What am I looping to fix something that I want to have be true, or am I looping while I have more work to do? You can think of this as while I have more work to do. I haven't gotten to the end of the string. While I've got something more to do, do it. Have I got to the end of my work? No, do another step. Have I got to the end of my work? Do another step. Over here is, do I have what I want yet? No, ask for it again. Do I have what I want? No, ask for it again. So there's different ways, different while loops will have you think about it a different way. It's always the case that while, if this is a true statement, you do what's in here. If this is a false statement, you drop out. Okay. All right. Oh, this kind of loop here is called walking a string. A loop that, like, let me do another example of walking a string. Okay. So let me copy in this. walking a string is the idea that you just start at one end of the string and you go to the other end. You go step through a string. I'm going to step through a string for a different reason now. I'm going to step through a string looking for something. Okay. So I'm going to take my string and I'm going to wonder, is the letter Z in my string? Okay. So I'm going to loop looking to see if the letter Z is in the string. So I'm going to have something that lets me step through the string. Then I'm going to have something that tells me whether I found what I want or not. So I'm going to say Boolean found equal, well, I haven't found anything yet. So I'll start off by saying it's false. Okay. While I'm in the string, I'm not going to print out now. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to do something very different in here. Okay. So I'm going to do something different in here. I'm going to say found equal. I want to see if the ith character is the letter Z or not. Okay. So char, okay, si dot char at I, s, my string, my char at I, is it equal to the letter Z? That's how I write. So the letter Z is not a string, it's a single letter by itself. So I write it in single quotes. And I'm asking, is the character at I, now this is either true or false. If it's true, I found what I want. If it's false, I didn't. If this thing is false, I didn't find what I want. If this thing is true, I found what I want. Okay. And then I want to go to the next character. Okay. Okay. Well, my idea is that I want to step through the string, looking at each character to see if I find the letter Z. And if I find the letter Z, I set this equal to found. Okay. Okay. Now that's my rough idea. While I'm still inside the string, look at the current letter, ask if it's Z. Okay. Whoops, I lost my close quote. See if it's the letter Z. If it's the letter Z, I found what I wanted. So that's a Boolean. So I'm setting equal. Now, if I found what I wanted, this thing set to true. If I didn't find what I want, this thing set to false. Okay. Right. But this is kind of not, this isn't going to work. Okay. And then I'm going to do is here is I'm going to print out whether I found it or not. Okay. So I'm going to say if found. So if I found it, system.out.println, there is a Z, else I didn't find it. See, I'll just do a little copy and paste here. There is no Z. Okay. Now this isn't going to work. First of all, I have to spell else right. Does anybody see what I did wrong? Does anybody see, you think about the logic. Does anybody see what I've done wrong here? A little bit subtle. I'm stepping through the string and asking, is HZ, is EZ, is LZ, is OZ? Let me put a Z in here somewhere. So let me put a Z in the middle here. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'll find a Z there. Then is that space Z? Is it TZ? So can anybody see what's going to go wrong? So you have to start learning to think about code. Code runs, and you have to think about what it's doing. And this is the goal of the class is to start, to picture this thing as running and try to see step through it in your head. What's before running it? Is HZ? No. So found stays false. Is EZ? No. So found stays false. Not Z, found stays false. Not Z, found stays false. Not Z, found stays false. Not a Z, found stays false. Oh, I found a Z. So found becomes true. Great. All right. But what happens when I go to here?
It's gonna, you don't set the variable, you don't set found back to false, so it's just gonna always say that there's a Z once you have found one.
No, it does set it back to false. That's my problem. See, because the code does exactly what I said to do. When
Oh,
I
so
get to
it's
see, your logic was what I wanted to have happen, but I didn't write it that way. Once I
so,
found the letter, now I set found back to false.
so does it just stop after it finds Z?
I should stop when it finds it. Now let's just check. Let's visualize it. We'll see that this is not gonna give us the right answer. Okay, like go to the end. See, there is no Z. See, I run the program. Where did it go wrong? Go back and step through. And if you step through, found is false. See how found is false, found is false,
Oh,
found
it's
is
because you
false.
never set it's never set to true. That's why.
No, it is set to true. There it is. See, at index 6, I found the Z. Found is true. All right, hey, I found what I wanted for it. But see, I'm going to keep going through the string, and now I say, oh, at 7, found is false.
Oh, okay. I think it's because you need to exit. Don't you
I
need to
need to,
exit
okay,
the?
so how do I get out of the loop? Well, here's how I can do it. While I is less than length, and I have not found what I'm looking for. This is where the logic we studied, the compound logic comes in. So now I say, while I still have more letters in the string to look at, and I have not found what I'm looking for, I keep doing this. Okay, well, we're out of time, but like now, if I go to the end, see, there is a Z. Okay, if we go back and watch this one, it's going to loop I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's the case where I'm going to find the Z. Oh, found Z. Okay, increment I, go back up to the while. Now, I is less than length, that's true, but not found, well, found is true, not found is false. So and false makes this whole thing false. So I drop out of the loop and I found what I wanted. Okay. Okay. No, so I've got a loop that walks the string. This part walks the string, increments me, steps me through the string, and this part's helping me figure out whether I should stop or not. When I found what I'm looking for, I'll have this not found will become false. All right, so we quit there. Notice how now we're starting to get to code that's not so trivial to do. If somebody gave you this code and said, what does this while loop do? You don't want to read it back to them. Well, while the integer I is less than the length of the string and the not found variable is false, you set found equal to si at caret I, carrying it to z, then you increment I. And that would just be meaningless. Somebody says, what does this loop do? And your answer is, well, it returns true if it finds a z, and it returns false when it sets found to true if it finds a z, and it leaves found false if it doesn't find a z. Okay. So what does this loop do? It looks for a z. That's the answer. If somebody asks you, what does this loop do? The answer is it looks for a z in the string S1. If somebody asks you what this loop does, you do not say while I is less than the length of the string and not found. You then go in and set found equal to the character at I compared to z. Then you increment I and you do that looping again. See, reading the code is never what code does. You have to step back and think, what is it really doing? How do you summarize what it's doing? And that's what we want to practice, is stepping back and saying, oh, this code looks for a Z in the string. Okay, so we run out of time. I'll put these examples up on the course website, and we're going to do the for loop on Thursday. We'll do the other loop. We've done the while loop today, and we'll do the other loop, the for loop, on Thursday. Okay. And anybody, last question? Anybody got a question? There'll be another programming assignment up there soon, I hope. I'm trying to find the time to write. I have several classes, so I'm writing homework assignments for several classes at the same time. So there's going to be another homework assignment up. You know, you had a homework assignment due before the exam, so I didn't want to give you one while the exam was, while studying for the exam. So there'll be another homework assignment up there pretty soon. Okay. All right. Any questions? Okay. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing, and we'll meet again on Thursday. Bye.